The old Union bicycle is back inside the barn for what will hopefully be the last part in its midlife fix-up. Let's recap the story so far that started back in the winter. So I rebuilt the cotter pin bottom bracket with a new axle, some cups and a few new steel balls. The old ball bearings were a bit rusty. One of them actually fell out through the seat tube during this assembly. I replaced the internals from the coaster brake hub. It had lots of play on the cones and the grease inside had turned into a thick paste. I had to weld the rear carrier because it broke as a result of moving heavy bags of chicken grain. I also installed some battery operated lights and tried to install a Kawasaki green plastic chain case, but that failed because it had the wrong mounting point. So that's where we are, and now it's finally time to install this cloth chain guard that I got from this old 1980s Gazelle parts bicycle that is currently living inside my blue scrap metal container. Now the first thing that I want to do is move the rear axle a little bit to the right. At the moment the front chain ring is about a centimeter further away to the right than the rear cog. I guess this new axle isn't exactly the same as the old, but it shouldn't matter. On a derailleur system the chain is always at an angle, almost always, so a little bit of an angle shouldn't be a problem, but it might make fitting a chain guard a little bit harder. I flipped the bicycle upside down for a bird's eye view, and now you can see that this cog is more than a centimeter out of line from the front chain wheel. Although at the moment the rear wheel is, well, nicely positioned between the chain stays, so more than a few millimeters to this side, I should probably not move the wheel, because then it might result in other problems, I think. So the plan is to remove this washer over here and move it to the other side. Another option would be to turn down this nut and maybe add a second nut on this side. Not sure what I'm going to do yet, but first I will remove the rear wheel. While removing the rear wheel is a perfect segment to go and fast forward. And there's the wheel. Perhaps you have seen a previous episode where I reinstalled these chain tensioners, and well, this one in particular is rather poor. Its thread is badly damaged, although it is still usable. So I thought I would be smart and use these chain tensioners that I got from the Gazelle bicycle that I recently scrapped. Also the Union bicycle currently has no anti-rotation washers, but these are not going to work because the axle on the coaster brake hub doesn't have any flat sides. Perhaps anti-rotation washers are not needed on a coaster brake, because it does have that brake reaction arm. Although this here is a chain tensioner from my Sparta bicycle, and it does have a anti-rotating washer, because this square side fits inside the frame. Perhaps the original washers got lost. Well, I had a look at the wheel, and the only thing I can do is move one washer from the cog side to the other side and reinstall the wheel and hope for the best. So this here is what I did. I installed 3 washers behind this nut. And I also flipped this nut because the one on this side is the thicker one now. And these nuts are serrated, so I assume these should go against the frame, the inside of the frame. And I have decided that I will install the chain tensioners on the outside of the frame, so they will not be between the frame and these serrated nuts. I did have to readjust the cones because somehow everything ended up over tight. Now that I have the wheel out of the frame, I should probably take care of this leaking tire. And I'm also planning to replace the tire because this cheap action tire, well, is crap. It is not comfortable. It is hard and stiff. It's crap. Well, I managed to remove that crappy, cheap and stiff tire. That was a bit of a struggle. And then I rediscovered this electrical tape that I used as rim tape. And that reminded me that this rim is a bit rusty on the inside and causing lots of flat tires, because I can see some scuff marks on the inner tube, and that was a rather new inner tube. I installed that last fall. So I will spend some time trying to wire wheel this rust off, and then I will probably use an old 26-inch inner tube from a mountain bike to protect from all of this rust. I think that might work. Although it is extra weight and you don't want extra weight on the wheels. But yeah, I'm not racing here. The wheel is back inside the frame, including a different tire that is still pretty much flat. It looks like the rear sprocket has moved about a half a centimeter closer to the front chain ring, so that should have improved the chain line a bit. Although at the moment the brake reaction arm is no longer in line with the frame, but I don't expect that will be a problem. By the way, I just noticed this narrow base on this kickstand. Could it be that Union bought this frame from Gazelle? I don't know. I don't care. It already has my favorite kickstand, so I don't need to mount another one. The axle has bottomed out inside this acorn nut, so I will have to take out the wheel again and try and see if I can move the axle a bit to the non-drive side. And as you can see, I forgot the chain tensioners. It's always the same with these things. It's kind of similar to the belt on the lathe. I always forget to install that one as well. So the wheel is back inside the frame, and I ended up replacing the axle. It wasn't too hard, since I recently had a coaster break apart. I still remembered how to do it. And as you can see, the tire is gone, and I replaced the rim tape with an old mountain bike inner tube that was basically beyond repair. Let's see if I can cut out this valve. And I did just sharpen my pocket knife for the first time in a long time. Well, looks like that helped. I think that's going to work. I know it's a bit wide, but I think it'll be okay. After I wire wheeled off most of the rust, I put a light coat of oil on here. I know oil isn't good for rubber, but yeah, sharp rust isn't good for inner tubes. As you can see, I did try to patch up the old inner tube, but as soon as I inflated the tire, it blew another hole at another location. I guess there's just too much damage on this inner tube, so I will replace it with another one that well, seems to be okay. So let's install everything. So everything is back together, including the old chain tensioners, and I did use some extra serrated washers in here, and hopefully that will help prevent rotation of the axle. I don't know, I had them, so why not try it. The axle now fits easy enough inside this acorn nut, and I had to borrow a bracket from another bicycle because I lost the one that I made myself. It's a bit rusty and a little bit too big, but it works for now. And I reinstalled the Chinesium tire. There should be a brand name on here somewhere, Deng Xiaoping. And when you take a look around the circumference of the rim, at some points you can actually see that mountain bike tube that I installed as a rim tape. There it is. I don't expect it will be a problem, but maybe I'm wrong, and in no time I will be mending another tire. I guess now I need to install a chain, and then I can go for a test ride. So it's the next day, and as you can see, the tire is still hard, and I was expecting that, but you never know what happens during the night. I picked up a cheap generic chain from the local hardware store. It's 112 links, single speed, so I think this will work. Don't you just hate this type of packaging? But I guess that is why I carry a pocket knife. And I think I saw a quick link in here. And there it is. And there should be a third piece. And there it is. I guess now I need to figure out how many of these links I actually need. Here comes the nice and shiny and clean new chain. All 112 links. I just removed the tension from the chain tensioners and moved the wheel as much as possible forward inside the frame, and now I need to figure out how many links I can remove. Looks like I can cut the chain over here, so this piece will have to come off. So I set up my flimsy chain cutting tool, and this here is the piece that I'm going to cut off. And I did check twice before making this cut to avoid any embarrassment. I think it's done. So here's that piece that I just cut off, and I did just notice this name on here, Auto or DTO. It's probably a famous Chinesium brand. So it's time to install the connecting link. Good, it's not too short. And now a covering plate and a locking piece. And I need my screwdriver to push this in. Oh man, that thing is tight. Ah, got it. So both the front chainring and the rear sprocket are used. The chain is new. And I believe that's a no-no. But it does seem to work for now. It might change when I tighten up the chain. I'm loosening up the axle nuts. The brake reaction arm is already loose. And now I should be able to tighten up the chain a bit. I already tightened up the one on the non-drive side, and you don't want to tighten these up too much because then you will feel it when pedaling. I think this is about right. It feels a bit iffy. It might be a little bit too tight, but it could also be the fact that these are not new parts. They might have a little bit too much play for a new chain. Well, the brake works. That's something. I guess I'm going to tighten everything up now. The axle nuts and the brake reaction arm. And then I will install some pedals so I can take this out for a test ride. So these pedals came from a bicycle that I scrapped recently. I think it was the Ultra, but I'm not sure. And this one here should be a right hand thread. That's a bit difficult to start. Yeah, it's going. And now the other side. That should be left hand thread. And for some reason it starts a whole lot easier. So the bicycle is on its wheels again, using its magnificent kickstand. And that's for the first time since February. I think it was after we had that bit of snow. Next I'm going to install a saddle, and then I will take it out for a test ride. And if I have successfully completed the test ride, I will install that cloth chain guard. But first I need to remove this electrical tape that I installed just before I pressure washed the frame. I'm going to install that Brooks B66 saddle that came from the Gazelle bicycle that I scrapped, and I did fix up this saddle and it is sitting just fine. This will need some further adjustments, but I will do that later when I take my test ride. Let's take this bicycle outside. After all, it hasn't seen sunlight in months. Oh, it's bright. So there she is, enjoying the summer sun. I adjusted the saddle and I think it's time for my test ride. But the wind is still blowing hard, so I'm not going to film that, but tonight I might. So I just did a quick test ride on the local dirt road. I changed the saddle height just a little bit. I also changed the handlebar height to the maximum, and I put in some air in the rear tire. And other than a rattling reflector. I didn't find anything wrong so far. Looks like I found the brake reaction arm bracket that I made. It was on the frame all along. So tonight I'm cycling around the local lake, and it's kind of breezy. And I think I've done about 1/3 of the round. I suggest you try out Google Translate if you can read this on screen, because I doubt that you can read it. I just came through that village. Now I'm going to that one, and then that one, and after that I'm going to go home. This way there is a bit of a lookout point. Well, looks like the union is still here, although I could install a lock. As you can see, the cycle lane is behind a little dike, so that should help with the wind noise. I think the right side cotter pin might be loose. Just a little bit. Also, the Brooks saddle is starting to make a squeaking noise, which is annoying. It seemed to only happen when I need to pedal hard. At the moment it is gone. I can feel a little bit of wind in my face, but it's not a lot. The bicycle is riding fine, by the way. It's a lot more nimble than that Chinesian piece of crap.
Next I need to install a cloth chain guard, but before I can do that I need to replace all of the stitchings. That kind of sucks. Well, feels like I'm heading up against the wind, so I'm stopping the camera right now. So I made it to the next lookout point, and that's over there. Maybe you can see the lake as well, if I can get the camera high enough. Last year, when the whole corona shit started, they actually barricaded this door with some tape. Alright, more shaky camera while I walk to the lookout point. This path can get rather wet during the winter, so right around this corner they started using wood. Not sure how to call these. They have gauze on top to keep you from slipping. Somebody should do some pruning. There's the lookout point. Hard to believe that the longest day is already behind us, or midsummer. You fancy doing some bird watching? I don't really care for those feathered fronts. Yeah, it's a bit dark in here. Alright, that way the town, the teak, and that way the pine, and that's where I cycled through. That way is Rottervolle, and there's another one around there, and that's called Samar. Ah, a nice table for the camera. Perfect for doing a panning shot. Well, enough panning around. I'm going to continue my ride. And I think I've done about half of the ride, and hopefully I won't get any flat tires, because that will be a long walk. Good. The Union is still there. But I really should install a lock. Although I don't expect a whole lot of potential bike thieves will be dropping by. good. Feels like I'm heading up against the wind again. Although there's a little bend ahead. Maybe it will get better. Nah, not really. Looks like I won't be home before the sun is gone. And I do have a light, although it is bent slightly to the right. So the Indian bicycle is cycling fine, no complaints, except for maybe that right side loose cutter pin. Well, I'm not even sure about that. And the squeaking saddle can also be annoying at some times, but it's not doing that at the moment, so that's a bit odd. Pretty sunset. I think a few years ago that farm over there burned down. Or maybe it was the next one up. I'm not sure. The slugs are the snails without a home. Oh, they must be staying somewhere else tonight, because usually I see a lot more of those. Ah, there's one. I think there was a dead one. It got squashed by someone else's tire, or her tire. Okay, we got a right hand turn coming up, and I think then the wind noise will be gone. Nope, I was wrong, still wind noise. I'm going to put the camera away because my hand is getting crampy. So the wind is in our back, and I think I got enough light left to take another, to visit another lookout point. I think there are about 6 of them around the circumference of the lake. It's a bit like an English hedge. You don't see a whole lot of these around here. Electric fence on the other side, and it gets even narrower up ahead. I don't think this path is for cycling, but who cares? Kitty. A rather tight bend. Hopefully no one is there. And this lane needs some pruning. And we got a fence or a gate coming up next to the farm. And then we will have to continue the route on the dirt road. The rather dry and dusty dirt road. Now I should slow down. On the coaster brake is working fine. I just cannot brake very hard while filming. There's the house. Now I'm going to stop the camera so I can get up. Doggy. Someone decided it would be a good idea to place a boulder. Shut up! Stop messing with my recordings. I don't think this dirt is very good for my exposed chain. Maybe I'll head back after I visited the lookout point. A little bit of mud. The lookout point is somewhere around there. We should have a look at the local waterfall. It is rather impressive. Yep, that's all. We need to go that way. You know what? I will leave the bicycle here and walk. And again, I suggest you use Google Translate. I'll make a picture. Sun is almost gone. And there is our lookout point. It's on a little hill. There's a lot more plants or trees than compared to the last time I was visiting this point. You can hardly see the lake from here. Yeah, somebody should do some pruning. They do smell nice though. Well, there you can see a bit of the lake. Nice clouds. Well, the rest of the way it's trees. You see, they really should do some pruning. Try to keep the camera level. Alright, that's enough of this. I'm going home. Hopefully my bicycle is still there, because I did leave it in the middle of the road. Not that I expect somebody will be passing at this hour. Well, let's continue that way on the dirt road. I will try and clean off the mud later before I install a cloth chain guard. And now I need to mount this bicycle. I almost lost my quad there. Okay. It's a bit dark here, but I've seen darker. I really should turn on the lights. But yeah, not while cycling and filming. Okay, there's some more headwind. These dead red microphone covers only help a little bit. Last bit of mud. Getting a bit sandy here, dusty. The trick is to keep going, but yeah, not sure if I should continue filming. The wind seems to be picking up. You know what? I'm going to stop here, turn on the lights, because I'm getting close to the tarmac road. Well, it's getting really windy. I will put the camera back inside the bag and go home.
So I made it back home, and I actually picked up a nice tailwind. I'll take the camera back off. I think that was a reasonably successful test ride. I'm not sure if the film or the video that I tried to shoot was all that good, but I will have a look at it, and I guess you will see what parts of it will end up in the video. The Union bicycle performed good. I have no complaints other than perhaps a loose cotter pin on the right side. I'm also rather annoyed with the Brooks saddle. It squeaks and makes noises when you lean onto the handlebar and have to pedal hard. I think I might need to tighten up this bolt, or maybe put some rubber or leather between the frame. That might help, because it is rather annoying. I did fix that rattle that came from the rear reflector. It just was a bit loose, and I had to grind out the bolt. Well, that took a while. I took some photos, but I didn't shoot any video of that lengthy process. But the noise is gone now, so I cannot really complain about it anymore. The lights also works good, although I'm not a big fan of battery operated lights, but they are sure a lot better than those dynamos that ride on the tire. Those things are awful. Next I will try and stitch up that cloth chain guard that came from that Gazelle bicycle that I scrapped. It basically needs all new stitchings, and I've been procrastinating that job. I might also threw up the rear wheel, now that it is still easy to remove the rear wheel, because, well, there is no cloth chain guard. I think that's basically it. Oh yeah, the rear tire, it held up okay. I was a bit worried about getting a flat halfway into my ride, but it all went okay, no problems. You see, the last time I was using this bicycle, I had a whole lot of flats, probably because of the rust inside the rim. Okay, I think I did enough talking. It's time to end this episode. Next time I will have the cloth chin guard stitched up, and then I will finally finish this bicycle. Alright, to be continued. Till next time.